Hello YouTube friends, welcome to the Last Homely House. It's nearly a year since my son John came and had a go at sewing fabric together and making a little quilt top. A year. It was on Mother's Day last year he did that. Well, it's Mother's Day again in a couple of days' time. And I've persuaded him to come back and finish that quilt, or at least get much further on with it. It's just a small quilt, if you remember it. He sewed together some blocks that I had already made because his idea was that how hard can it be? What's all the fuss you're making about anyway? I'm going to do this, and he did, and he made a lovely job of making this quilt top. So I'm just getting ahead of the game here. I've pressed all the fabric I want to use for his backing of this little quilt, and I'm making the binding now so that when he comes he works full time and he won't have much time to be making bindings and doing all of that. So I'm making him a binding. The quilt, the fabric I'm using for the backing is this K4Set Collective print in green called Shirt Stripe, which I have a big piece of. I can't remember why now, but I have a big piece of it because this is use what you have here, remember. But I had it already. And what I've done is, if you remember the videos where I've been sorting my fabrics into scraps, I went through the red one and the green one here, just the little scraps, and I cut my 2-inch, I'm doing it 2 inches wide, so it'll fold in half and it'll be a really, really thin binding. And I could have just done a 2-inch strip of the shirt stripe material. That would have been the simplest thing to do, wouldn't it? But I do like to complicate things. So what I'm doing here, these are all falling off, I'll stay there, is I'm taking some of these little scraps from these boxes here in reds and greens, which is what this quilt mostly is. And I've cut some 2-inch pieces and I'm just sewing them at random onto the binding for John's quilt, because like I say, you know, I like to make my life complicated and I think it'll look much more fun, and this is a fun quilt after all. So all I'm doing is I'll take any old piece. I've cut a fair few of these at 2 inches and different width sizes. I'm just going to stitch them in and sew them on like so, and then sew another bit of this to the end. So I'm going to do that for a while now. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I need an end. But I'm doing this ahead of the time because I really just need to get ahead of the game so that this is ready when he comes. And the quilt sandwich is what we're going to be doing first of all, I think. And because I knew John was coming, I made him his favourite meal. So John's arrived.
Hello.
To talk about this quilt top that he made. Now, what I'm loving about this is your schedule for this is like Mother's Day. So you put this together. Do you remember? Do you remember the very beginning of this?
Yes.
Where you saw all my quilt
and changed them round.
What happened there?
I rearranged them. All right, everyone. I watched Mother's latest video last night with Anna and Mother grafting away at their quilts. and there was this old section about how hard it is to arrange these blocks. It's not hard at all. You just lay them all out. I don't know what they were complaining about. I made this pattern in about a minute, and now I didn't quite like it, so I'm making a different pattern. And they were going on that it would take them like a whole afternoon. What do you think? Straight away, look, quilt in, done. Easy. I suppose sewing all the parts together isn't easy, is it? Like I couldn't make all these lines. I did try, but Mother doesn't like me going on a good sewing machine. She thinks I'm going to smash it. Which is probably true. So I'll leave this on here for her when she comes back, and then she can, you know, she doesn't need to do this step now. I've saved her all that afternoon. There you go. And there's 2 left over, which she's not going to need, so. See? Yeah. And then you saved the rearrangement.
Yes,
right?
And I did. I saved the rearrangement, as John calls it, as the layout of this quilt.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And then a year ago, John came and sewed all of this together.
A year?
Well, it was Mother's Day last year you did this.
That's a long time.
It is, and it's Mother's Day in a few days' time. So I've kept it, and I've got it out now because, John, I would very much like to show you how to do a quilt sandwich.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I think I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's not
right
a sandwich you can eat. It's a quilt sandwich.
Right,
okay.
So we're just going to begin, are we?
I think so. Well, because John's just come from work, and you've got a busy day today.
Yes.
So we haven't got him for very long.
Meetings.
Okay. Well, this is a more important meeting.
Yeah, this is the key meeting of the day.
So you've seen what we do here,
I have.
quilts and everything.
Yeah.
And you had a load of fun sewing that together.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to show you now what.
It's not very lined up, is it?
No.
There's a few missing lines there, aren't there?
It's funky.
There's a few cut off goose heads.
Yeah, some of these geese are a bit headless or wingless.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I love it.
No, I think it's good,
I really do.
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to do then is going to talk about how we're going to make this into a quilt, and that's what you're going to do today.
Tell me.
Okay. So we need some backing fabric.
Right.
And I have this fabric, which I hope you like.
Not bad, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to use that fabric, and
Any other options?
No other options, sadly.
That's it.
That's the one. That's your option.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So I've made it ever so slightly bigger than your quilt top.
Do people ever do it where they, rather than using a backing one, you make a quilt on one side and a quilt on the other side?
You could do that, yeah. You
What's
can
that
do that.
called?
Reversible quilt.
Does anyone do that?
People make, you can make a really nice pieced backing for the back of your quilt.
Can we not do that?
No, not if. How long have you got?
Not that long.
You've got less than an hour, haven't you?
Okay, well let's go with this one.
We'll have to, I'm afraid. We'll have to go with that one. I think it'll look nice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's actually in some of this fabric. Okay.
Let's go for it, I'm happy.
All right, so the quilt sandwich then
Backing.
is the backing, and what we need is something to sandwich in the middle of it. That's the top, that's the back.
Right.
Now, what I've got on the table here is quilt wadding, and this, because it's quite a small quilt, this is a good opportunity to use up some scraps of quilt wadding, and so I've recycled it. Yeah, these are they're not been used before; they're new.
Okay.
Quilt wadding, but I've just very carefully sewn these together by not overlapping them, so that they're just stitched together, so it'll hold together while we're doing this next thing.
Wonderful. So
I'll just move this wadding to one side then, and I ironed that very beautifully before you was playing around with. Okay. Okay. Would you? I need you to put it on the table. That's it, that way round. Brilliant. How did you know you needed it?
Because that's going to be the visible face.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good.
Am I right?
Yes, it is. You're right. Okay then, so now we need this carefully joined together wadding.
How strong is the stitching?
It's strong enough for what we're going to do with it. It doesn't need.
Oh, you've doiled that now,
haven't I? Okay. It doesn't need to. It's fine. It's fine.
I'll do it. It's my quilt.
It's your quilt. You do it. Okay.
Like that, right?
See, it's not as easy as it looks, is it, John? You get that side and I'll get this side and we'll lay it.
Doiled again.
Okay. All right. This is such a small quilt.
There must be some sort of machine that can do this.
Yeah, probably. Right.
That way round, right? Do you want...
Yeah. There we go. We'll just layer it down. Perfect.
Oh, lovely.
And then we do the smooshes, the quilter smoosh. Okay, and now lay this on top with quilt wadding all the way around the edge. Okay.
Looks like a quilt sandwich to me.
Okay, right, go the other way.
Not big enough.
No, I cut it big enough. Should be.
Don't think you're...
No, I did. Look, you've got all this at this end.
Bring it that
so
way.
So it can come this way a bit. It isn't actually square.
How would you do this on your own, eh?
Yeah, and I do.
With difficulty.
And I have,
on
yes.
a bigger quilt too,
the quilter
probably.
smoosh is doing it without even being told to do it.
There we go.
Okay, so how do we keep the quilt in 3 layers? There's a number of different ways, but I use pins.
Ooh, what's the other ways?
You can use spray based, or you could stitch big stitches, but I use pins, and these are curved quilter's pins.
Very nice.
So that when they sit in the fabric, they don't make a bump. They
nice.
actually, and start in the middle.
How many?
Well, you need to put them about a hand's width apart. So if
Just
the first
randomly.
one goes there and you dig right down till you hit the table, the second one can go about there. That's it. And we're going to just pin this quilt out.
How do you know you grabbed the bottom one?
Well, you can kind of feel it. So if you go in like so...
I believe I've got it.
And then you come up and you can kind of feel that you've got it. And it keeps all 3 layers together.
You probably want to do this quite quickly.
Why?
Just to keep the pace.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Well, no, what I mean is that you would probably do this quite quickly.
Not necessarily.
Because you know how to find...
Well, it's not my first quilt.
Not your first rodeo.
No, it's not. But it's your first quilt, and I think you're doing a grand job.
It certainly is.
So...
Wonder what I'm going to do with it when it's done.
Okay, and so now that's about perfect. And then
very good.
Just do another one here and here and here, so that it's holding it together approximately every, I don't know, a hand's width is what people say.
3 inches.
That'll do.
4 maybe.
4 maybe, yeah. Okay. And then once this is all pinned together beautifully...
Then you can start lifting it around.
Well, you can move it, but then we need to secure these 3 layers by doing the quilting stitches.
Quilting it?
Yes, by quilting it. Now,
which is where this general craft gets its name.
Quilting, I guess so.
So it's sort of the core activity.
It is the core activity. Now, usually... Well, when I'm making it, but also when I'm pinning it out like this, I have a think about how I might like to quilt it. And there's many, many different ways. At this point, often people would machine quilt it.
Long arm quilting.
They could, yes. He's got so much of the jargon, hasn't he? It depends on the quilt. For this one, we're going to hand quilt it.
I suppose you need to have a lot more time to hand quilt it.
This won't take you long.
What?
It won't take you long, not once you get going. However, that's not the conversation. The conversation is, how are you going to quilt it? So
with threads,
yes,
needle and thread.
Yes, but the pattern you're going to choose. So one of the things you can do, and you know this one, you can...
Stitch in the ditch?
Yes! Or... You can do a pattern where the stitches are visible, because when you stitch in the ditch, you don't really see the stitches so very well.
My ditches don't line up.
No, they don't. And so this might be that we do more of a random kind of thing. You can do patterns and shapes on here, so that the quilt stitches give you a different pattern to the quilt itself.
So you could have we could do like a really ornate eagle.
Yes.
Would you be up for doing that for me?
Is that you're doing it? Is an ornate eagle the way we're going here?
No. Maybe some super like geometrical shapes.
We can do that. And so how we would do super geometrical shapes, we'd get quilting ruler and a marker of some sort,
That's
some
that
chalk.
chalk that I always play with, isn't it?
Yes, he does play with my chalk. I take it off him though, because he's a bad boy. He's not actually.
There's a lot more pins to come in. You better carry on.
Yeah, I'm pinning my side. An ornate eagle. Do you know something? We can do absolutely anything you want.
Maybe 2 ornate eagles fighting in the air.
Yeah.
Could you do
Over
that?
a fish.
Could you do that?
No.
No?
No, but you could do that with machine quilting.
Yeah?
You could program that in and do machine quilting. I've seen some fantastic machine quilting where
They must CNC it too now, do they?
CNC. Well, it's a computer program, yes.
Yeah, so it's like
for sure. Do you use much computer stuff in your workshop?
Occasionally.
What for?
Well, letter carving,
Okay.
maybe.
Well, we could write your name on this, John.
Yeah. Could do. Could do.
Okay, so now that this end's all pinned, we can pull it towards us a little
clever. You
bit.
haven't done down there. Look at that gap there.
Okay, I'll put one in there. It's not a problem. It'll be fine. We're going to try and get this finished this Mother's Day. Eh?
What are we going to do with it when it's done?
Oh, it's yours. You get to choose.
Prize giveaway?
No, it's yours. Okay. Yeah, you could... I remember when I was at the Festival of Quilts with Anna a couple of years ago and we saw the quilts. Joe Cunningham had a gallery with quilts, and his machine quilting is so ornate and so graphic, beautiful, pictorial things. He'd do you an eagle fighting another eagle.
2 ornate eagles fighting in the air.
Absolutely, he would. If that's what you wanted, son, he'd do that.
It'd be really nice if one of the people watching this video would hand quilt their next quilt with 2 ornate eagles fighting in the air.
Hand quilt.
Yeah. Just someone, I don't know.
There's a challenge. John's thrown down a challenge for you there.
Imagine that. Imagine how good that would look.
Tag us on Instagram if that's you.
Yeah.
I think it's highly unlikely. But I definitely think someone could have a go at doing that with a computerised program.
That's a bit of a cop-out.
I don't think so. There's one up there you need. And one up there maybe. And then I think we're pretty much done. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, what we need to do when we've quilted it is trim all these edges off. And I've made you this binding. We won't get on to doing that today, but I made you a binding to put on it when it's finished.
Which I presume just goes around the edge, slip
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
Okay, so that's ready for when we're done. Now,
Good work.
what I have here...
Threads.
Yes, and I picked out all the threads that are the colours that kind of go with this quilt.
Very thoughtful.
I thought we'd... Yeah. We've got our scissors somewhere over there, and our threads, and...
Well, you could do quite nice things with the threads, couldn't you? You could do like a diagonal lines. I think that's how I want to do it.
You could do that.
I want to do diagonal lines across and then diagonal lines that way.
You can do that.
What's that called? Is that a new quilting technique I've invented?
Yeah, John's diagonal lines, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Or something even more
The
prosaic.
ornate eagle technique.
Yeah. So, I've chosen...
Let's go!
I've chosen...
Come on.
So sometimes when I look at the comments of videos that you're in, people say, he must have been a very interesting child. And guys, he really was.
Come on.
Now, I've chosen Aurifil thread for you.
Oh, the best. Only the best.
Exactly. And this is 12 weight.
I prefer 11, but never mind.
And I've got you this needle. And I've got
That's
one more thing.
That's a quilter's needle.
It's...
I'm not normally allowed to play with these.
No, he's definitely not allowed to play
So
with these.
today
I mean,
is
you know
a
what
quite
this
a-
is, don't you?
Whack.
What kind of whack?
Beeswax.
It's beeswax. And we're going to wax the
Thread.
thread.
To
Actually,
make it glide through the cloth easier.
I should just go, shouldn't I? Right, I just need one more thing, though, out of my drawer here.
a thimble,
Nope.
which I'm also not allowed to play with.
No, you're not.
These.
Not allowed to
Apparently,
play
I've
with
destroyed
thimbles.
these in the past.
Here we go. This will do. Yeah, you're not allowed to play with thimbles.
Again, another thing I'm not allowed to play with. All the things.
I remember one comment that said that you were very irritating.
That's true.
This is true.
No, the best one was juvenile and disruptive.
That's right, juvenile and disruptive. I
was
encourage
accurate.
juvenile and disruptive. I think it's wonderful.
Maybe not on every quilt.
Not on every. No. That's why you only come in once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're going to do diagonal lines, and why wouldn't we?
Yeah. That's
Then
what
we've
the
got
plan
the
is.
quilt ruler, and it's about how far apart you want those lines to be. Quilt wadding comes with a guide as to how far apart you should quilt it, because the reason for quilting is to hold these 3 layers together. When you use and wash the quilt, this wadding here, if the quilt lines are too far apart, it can move. And
Don't
so,
want that.
but if it's too close together, it'll take you till Mother's Day 2090 to finish this. Okay, so we're going to decide now how far apart we want the quilt lines. Yeah, and I'm going to so measure that against
2 inches.
No, I'm going to say a bit.
That? Why
That's
don't we just
2.5.
do that?
That's 2.5 inches. That
Is
would.
that too much?
I think I'd say 3 inches. Or
Oh, right. Very big.
yeah, 3 inches. Well, the guides for this for the quilt wadding is 8 inches.
Oh, well, we've got plenty to play
We
with.
have loads to play with. So
Let's do 3, shall we?
let's do 3. Okay.
It's a compromise.
Okay. Now, this
That's what
quilt
the world's
isn't.
built on, eh?
Yes, it is.
Compromise. Come on.
What do you mean? Come on.
I'm waiting.
Okay. So this quilt isn't square. So we've got to decide if we want our quilt lines.
We just go corner to corner, don't we?
That wouldn't be square though. You can do that if you like. You can just aim for that corner, but it would be probably better to aim for that corner. Trust me, I'm your mother.
You're also a quilter.
That's true. Both of those things are
So
true.
I would. I've
There it goes.
thread me needle. Dropped it on the floor.
Okay, so you don't want this too long, but also you don't want to have to make too many joins when you're quilting. So what I'm going to get you to do,
Good tip, that.
yeah, well, you can join.
Store that one up there.
Okay, so I've got you a nice long piece of thread there.
Very
and
good.
If you want to just run it,
Find a pre-prepared groove.
if you like, but just run the wax through it. That's it, perfect. And what that's okay. And what that does, it just makes the thread tangle less.
Ah, nice.
Because
Hate
it
when the thread
can.
tangles.
We don't want it half and half. We want it. There you go. And I am going to put a wee knot in the end just for you, darling. Right,
Is that
now
a
we
cheat,
have
is
to.
it?
No, it's not cheating. It's not cheating. The quilt police don't know where I live.
Are
Okay.
there quilt police out there?
They're a quilt police, and they watch my videos and they're trying to work out where I live. They don't know. Okay, we live in Surrey. Okay, right. Okay, now you've got to decide, because where your first line goes will determine all the rest of them.
Well, it wants to be geometric.
Yes. So if that was your first quilt line, disregarding the pattern, because that's what we're going to have to do, you put the ruler where you want your first quilt line to be. You can have it wherever you like. Okay. So if that's your first quilt line, all your other quilt lines are going to be. That's going
So
to
it's
be
a
the
bit
reference
random,
for
but
them
actually
all.
that would fit with what's going
It
on.
would
on the
fit
other
very
side.
well indeed. Okay, so
Right. Now
here comes
skid
your.
that along.
It's got a nice noise, hasn't it? Okay. And
There's
when you stitch on this, it kind of disappears. Yes, you can do the rest of it. And see if you can keep it nice and straight. Don't worry too much if it goes a little bit off. And I'll just get rid of that.
You need a longer one of these.
I have got a longer one somewhere, but I haven't got one that long. That's it, great. Now, this is the moment to tell you that in John's real life, when he's sensible, he's a cabinet maker, and so measurements and lines and doing is actually really pretty damned important.
Oh, it's
for you.
very important, like.
But in quilting, because it's fabric, it's a little bit more forgiving. Brilliant. So there's your first quilt line.
All right then.
Now,
let's
here we
for
go.
it.
Now, because this is quite
This
small,
is quilting.
it is. There. Now, we're going to start just off.
And you go all the way through all three.
Yes, that's
just
right.
There.
All the way through, just off it there, like that. And then this is when you decide just how big you want your quilt stitches to be.
Pretty big, I'd say.
And I think...
Centimetre?
Not massive, but definitely not small. Okay?
So that?
No, that's way too big.
That?
That would do me. That would do me very nicely. Yeah, that's about 1 centimetre, isn't it?
Yeah.
And once you've done a couple, you'll get into the hang.
And then push it all the way through.
All the way through and back up again.
Oh, this is going to take ages.
That's why we don't want them 2 inches apart, and that's why the eagles sort of
the ornate
eagle. Now,
Two
I'm going to just show you a way to make this easier for yourself. Okay, because this I've given you a nice long needle. Okay, now that you've got the idea of what you're doing, if you go down and up again.
Oh, very good. Yeah, yes, very good. Can I skid it over
Yes,
to
you
me?
can skid it anywhere because that's what the pins allow you to do. And when you get good at this, you can go down and up, down and up, down and up.
Ooh,
and
hellfire.
This is a good quilting term that we use in Surrey. Right, down, and then you can go down again if you want to and do another one. Yeah, that's perfect. That's it, good.
Ooh.
That's fine.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it is. That's absolutely fine.
So.
And he's off. Okay.
So it.
And this is the fun part of quilting. I like hand quilting very much because it's very relaxing and you can't think about anything else when you're doing it. You're totally out of your head and into your hands. You're not thinking about all your meetings today, are you?
No, I'm
No, it's
thinking
not.
about getting this.
The interval right. This is looking good.
Oh, hellfire.
Looking good? Brilliant.
That's too big.
And you'll know to regulate it yourself. That's it. Good. And then you whip along, and
Look at that though.
it's fine. Don't worry about it in the slightest. If you slightly off the, this is not cabinet making. Okay, this is good. This is quilting, which gives you a little bit more leeway either side. It's not as precise. I mean, we want to be careful, but it's not as precise as what you're doing with millimetres. So, do we suppose this might be ready next Mother's Day?
If then.
If then. Now, the beauty about this chalk is it washes out after you're finished, but it also kind of rubs off as you're working, so it's not going to permanently mark the fabric at all. You're doing a lovely, lovely, neat job.
Very lovely job.
I'm very impressed.
I've done a fair amount.
Yeah, you have. And the thing about this now is we decide how far apart we want these lines to be. And once you've done one, I think you'll reassess your idea of having them 2 inches apart, yeah?
Oh man, it's painstaking.
It's painstaking. It is. But do you know something? It's not a competition. It's not like you've got to get this done for anything.
Mm. Why couldn't you just blast this over the sewing machine?
You could. You could do that.
You never attempted to?
A small quilt like this would be very easy to do on the sewing machine. Have I ever attempted to? No. I suppose it's because I really enjoy doing this. Because it's not just long arm quilting. You can just pull your thread so that it's not... That's it. You can easily do this size quilt on a domestic machine. Would you like to do a mixture?
Well, no. Because now we've done it one way.
I think this is going to have to be how it goes, isn't it?
You'd have more chance of the ornate eagles fighting in the air that way, wouldn't you?
Not on a domestic machine.
No?
No. I'm definitely going to have to see if we can find a programme that some long armour could do that for us.
You'd think so, right? Be easy enough. Someone?
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Cunningham, he'd do it for us. Joe, challenge. Speaking of eagles, there's a bald eagle family that I watch a live cam of. And I watched it all last year, and they laid eggs, but she didn't hatch any chicks out. She's got 3 chicks this year.
Have you been watching it, have you?
Yeah. And they're in California. And it's Friends of Big Bear Country or something like that it's called. I'll put the link to it, or we'll put a little clip in here. She's got 3 bald eagle chicks.
Very good.
I think it's so exciting.
They could be embroidered. Could they not?
That's your challenge to see if you can manage it. No, I don't think so. I'm going to say no. Okay. Try not to let your stitches get too big.
They're not. Look at that.
I think they're very, very good.
That.
Very good. Very even. Look at that. I know you're tempted to use lots of different colours or just yellow.
Just yellow.
Because I have a lot of yellow. So if you choose this yellow...
Yeah.
Yes, it will. It'll be very visible and it'll look really, really beautiful. I like this thread here. This is called Marrakesh, and this is one of Aurifil's colours. And I like this one because this one kind of blends in, because it's every colour in this quilt. And if you wanted to stitch with that, it would be less visible.
That's the one you wanted me to have chosen?
No, it isn't. I like the yellow very much because you've liked yellow since you were a very little boy. It's been your absolute favourite colour, hasn't it?
Well,
now,
let's see
what's
that Marrakesh
now,
one. Oh, I've made a mistake.
No,
I
you
made a
haven't made a
terrible
mistake.
error.
No, it's not a mistake. What you've got
Oh, I have to unpick it all.
all you've got to do is just make sure that it's not doubled over. That's all you did there. Because you're coming to the very end now, and just take that line and just take it off the end there.
Whew! Save my bacon.
Yeah. Not the first time. Yeah, when John was a little boy, really little, like 4, 5 years old, his favourite colour was yellow, and all of his clothes were yellow. Everything he wore was yellow. I knitted him a yellow hat. He had yellow trousers, yellow underpants, yellow socks, a yellow sweatshirt, and a yellow hat. And he went to school like that. And it was.
Imagine what the teachers.
It was like, here comes John, our little ray of sunshine. And there's a crop that's grown in the UK. It's probably grown all over the place, called oilseed rape, which has a really yellow flower. And at certain times of the year, as you're driving along, there's big yellow patches of yellow.
Have you still got the photograph?
Yeah, I must have it somewhere. And I took John to an oilseed rape field in full flower and stood him in the middle of it.
I think I can remember that.
He's not very visible. Yeah, you were going through your yellow period.
I still like the colour yellow.
It's a beautiful colour. Suits you very well. Now, you're getting to the end of that run now. And all I want you to do is take the stitch off the end and pull the needle out. Now, actually, that didn't take too long to do that one, did it?
Yeah, probably 10 minutes.
Now, when I'm quilting, and I know that I've got like 15 rows to do this way and 20 this way, I'll actually time myself doing one so that I know that, I get the speed up and I time one row and I know that's how long I'm going to be sitting
But
there
on this
quilting.
one, some of the rows will be shorter.
They will indeed. Okay,
And
then.
some will be longer.
Now, that then...
Looks good, eh?
It does look good, but let's look at the back.
Aye.
Because there's your quilt
Oh,
line on
look,
the back.
it's quilted. It's very straight.
Okay. What do you think?
Oh, very impressed.
I'm impressed too.
Quite straightforward, really.
So,
It's just so a big old line, isn't it?
every now and then, when you've time, come back and do
I
some
will.
more.
I will.
Come and do another row, and we'll get this thing finished.
Nice. And then what will we do with it?
Then we'll do this part,
Oh,
which is
aye.
the binding. We'll trim it all the way round,
Yeah.
and I'll put the binding on, and I'll show you how we do that.
Get in.
Absolutely. I have one thing there for you. Stay there. To thank you.
Oh. Oh, no way. A little flan.
Just for you. You can take that back to work with you.
What did you do with the rest of it? You
I
just
only made a small one.
You made a tiny
A
little
tiny
cute
flan for you. Well, it's still going to be 4 slices,
Yeah,
isn't it?
we'll scoff that
Yes,
today.
you do like flan, don't
I
you?
do, yeah. And I had some very miserable sandwiches with old bread
Oh!
that had been quite curled up. Do you know those? Where they? So now I don't need to eat them. I'll eat
You can
this.
eat this instead. Okay, take that back with you. Oh,
Thank
thanks
you,
so
Mother.
much.
You're so kind.
Well, you're... so are you. Thanks so much for wanting to do this.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
And so that's been quite a different kind of video. And if you've enjoyed it, if you've enjoyed John, give John a thumbs up. And leave all your comments about what a rascal he is down in the description below. And subscribe and put your notifications on, all of that. And then you'll not miss next Mother's Day when John comes back to finish this. Or even before then.
That might be before. Who
Okay.
knows?
Thanks so much for watching, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now. You did really well there.
Good.
Really good. I think the accuracy of how you work has meant that, you know,
That it's very good.
for you a straight line is important, isn't it?
Yeah.
In woodwork and so on. So